Lately, I've been thinking a lot about monsters. This started because I'm really excited about the new Guillermo del Toro movie, The Shape of Water, which like most of his movies is a monster movie, but this one is sort of an unconventional love story between a mute woman and a humanoid fish creature. And then I was contacted by the marketing team behind the upcoming Broadway production of King Kong, which, full disclosure, is sponsoring this video. And until then, I wasn't even aware this production was happening, and when I heard, my first thought was, how are they going to handle Kong? And not just how will they create a giant gorilla on stage, but how is he going to function within the story? Will he be a straight-up monster, like in the recent Kong Skull Island, or are they going to make him an actual character? Because there are a lot of monster movies, and in most of them, the monsters are, well, monsters. But how do you take a monstrous, non-speaking thing and make it a real character, or a protagonist, or even a romantic lead? Every monster falls somewhere on a spectrum. On one end, there's Frankenstein's monster, which is almost human. On the other, there's the Blob, which doesn't even possess a brain. Most monsters are technically animals. Even if they're aliens, mutant fish creatures, mythological demons, or radiation-eating gods of destruction, they still generally behave like animals. And even though they're usually destroying things and killing people, they exist like any other animal in movies, whether it be Willy, who was freed, or Seabiscuit. They're plot devices. The movies aren't about them, they're about how the human characters react to them. Most movie monsters are closer to symbols than characters. Godzilla, maybe the most famous of all movie monsters, is a pure force of nature, created to represent the nuclear devastation that Japan had experienced a decade earlier. Godzilla barely thinks or feels. There's definitely no character arc. It is a creature older than humanity, like a part of the Earth itself. Godzilla isn't even a villain. It's more like the tidal waves and earthquakes in a disaster movie. And throughout the many Godzilla movies, including American versions, it stays that way. Even when Godzilla is defending the human race, it's not because of any virtuous intent or change in motivation. But Kong is a different beast. From the beginning, what's unique about Kong is that we care about him. He's a monster, he terrorizes Andaro, and he eats people, but there's an emotional level to Kong that exists with few other monsters. His home is invaded by the main characters, and he's the one who is imprisoned and taken to a strange land. Throughout the movie, he's simply defending himself as any animal would. This is consistent through the many sequels and remakes. We care about him, we feel sympathy for him, but he's still not really a character. Until Peter Jackson's 2005 remake. This is a movie with a lot of problems, namely that it's way too long. But what's most significant about it is that it's the first time Kong truly becomes a character. And that happens because of the shift from sympathy to empathy. The earlier versions of Kong were part of the long line of tragic monsters, like Frankenstein's monster and the Gill Man from The Creature Walks Among Us. They're monsters, but we feel sympathy for them when they suffer. The Kong from Jackson's film, as played by Andy Serkis, is one we actually connect with emotionally. This Kong is capable of expressing a range of emotions the others never could, giving him real depth and allowing him to become a real character. Because here, thanks to advancements in technology, Kong was able to be portrayed by an actor giving a real performance. For an audience to be able to empathize with a character, it needs to be able to communicate and express emotions. And if that character is a non-verbal monster, this all needs to be done through physicality. In earlier versions, this was greatly limited by technology. As incredible as the stop-motion animation, puppetry, and animatronics were, communicating complex emotions was still out of reach. While I'm one of the many people who mourns the move away from practical effects, CGI, along with performance capture technology, has made it possible for a giant monster to give a true performance and become as expressive as any of the human characters. And thus, for the first time, Kong and Andaro can be portrayed by two actors working together, with actual chemistry creating a real relationship. If a monster is going to become a real character in the movie, there needs to be a real performance behind it. However the monster is created, whether through CGI, makeup, puppetry, animatronics, or some combination of these, they have to be in service of the performance and allow for a wide range of emotions to be expressed. Guillermo del Toro, currently the world's foremost monster filmmaking expert, understands that better than anyone. Here's him talking about the importance of performance when creating the monster in The Shape of Water.
I'm not creating a creature, I'm creating a living man. For the creature to be expressive is incredibly difficult because it needs to express despair, tenderness, innocence.
Unlike Kong, the creature here is a practical creation, but it shows you how far that technology has advanced. The original 1954 Creature from the Black Lagoon is one of the great movie monsters, with a design that looks incredible even today. But as great as the design is, the costume is not what anyone would call expressive. And in its second sequel, The Creature Walks Among Us, the creature takes on a far more sympathetic role, but it remains limited by the stiffness of the costume, rendering it incapable of true expressiveness. But in The Shape of Water, the creature's entire physiology, from its body to its face, is designed to give actor Doug Jones a full range of physical communication. Del Toro and a team of artists spent 3 years designing a monster that could believably function and emote as a real character. With Jackson and Del Toro, we have filmmakers who grew up immersed in monster movies. They're not content to merely have monsters terrorize people, but are intent on making them characters who can stand toe-to-toe with regular humans. And thankfully, advancements in both digital and practical effects have caught up with their ambition and imagination. Now, I love classic, destructive, man-eating monsters, and I'll be first in line for the upcoming Godzilla vs. King Kong. But it's exciting to see filmmakers challenging the notion of what movie monsters can be, and to imagine where it might go from here. And as for the upcoming King Kong Broadway show, from what I've been told, the aim is to make Kong a true leading man with whom the audience empathizes, through a combination of puppetry and robotics. That's challenging to pull off on film, and an even bigger challenge on stage. And I, for one, am very, very curious to see what they do. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Now, as I mentioned before, this video is sponsored by the upcoming King Kong Broadway show premiering in fall of 2018. Now, this is a massive theatrical experience with musical elements, a book by Jack Thorne, the playwright of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and Kong itself will be a 20-foot high combination puppet/robot. I think this sounds really cool. I am really eager to check it out, and tickets are on sale now, so if you're interested, go visit the link in the description below for more information. Now, if you like the videos we're making and you want to help us make more of them, you should check out the Patreon. If you want to yell at me about stuff and get updates on the things that we're working on, follow me on all the social media links. Shout out to Andrew Dunsing and Brian Gaston, and I will see you next Wednesday.